Sometimes the things we hold on to the longest are the ones that hurt us the most. In the small, tree-lined town of Willow Creek, nestled somewhere between forgettable highways and postcard-worthy autumns, lived Olivia Brooks, 35, a second-grade teacher with a heart far bigger than her bank account. Her world, carefully folded into the rhythms of early morning alarm clocks, lesson plans, and bedtime stories, revolved around a single star, her 10-year-old daughter, Layla. To the outside world, Olivia appeared composed, dependable, a woman who knew how to make ends meet with grace and teach multiplication tables with smiles. But behind that calm exterior lived a constant undercurrent of self-doubt, shaped by decades of being the lesser daughter, the one who colored inside the lines while her younger sister Scarlett painted bold strokes across every canvas life offered her. Scarlett had always been the family's rising sun. Where Olivia brought home modest report cards and skipped school dances to babysit, Scarlett dazzled. Beauty, charm, ambition. Scarlett seemed to come packaged with it all. Their parents, particularly their mother, made no effort to hide their pride. Scarlett was born to lead, their father once said during dinner when both girls were teenagers, casually passing the mashed potatoes to his favorite child. Olivia never forgot that moment, not because of the words, but because no one else at the table thought anything was wrong with them. Now, Scarlett was engaged to Nathan Carter, the only son of a wealthy local developer whose family practically built half of Willow Creek's downtown skyline. Olivia had never really known Nathan beyond the occasional awkward family holiday, but she didn't need to. His tailored suits, luxury car, and polished smiles said enough. He was exactly the kind of man her family had always imagined Scarlett would marry, and the exact opposite of the man Olivia once thought she'd grow old with. That chapter, her marriage to Derek, Layla's father, had closed 7 years ago with a slammed door and a note that read, "I can't do this anymore." Since then, it had just been Olivia and Layla against the world. And in many ways, it had been enough. Their small rental apartment, while old and drafty in the winters, was a sanctuary filled with warmth and color. Hand-painted canvases by Layla decorated every wall. The fridge was covered with spelling tests, Polaroid snapshots, and heart-shaped magnets. Sunday mornings were for pancakes with chocolate chips, and Thursday nights were for popcorn movie marathons curled up on their worn-out couch under a mismatched quilt. Layla was bright and sensitive, with deep brown eyes that noticed everything and a laugh that could break through any storm cloud. She asked thoughtful questions. She helped carry groceries without being told. She hugged with both arms and all her heart. Olivia often said that Layla had saved her just as much as she'd saved Layla. Still, as fulfilling as their life was, there was an ache Olivia couldn't ignore, one rooted in legacy, in blood, in the deep, tangled roots of family. As painful as her relationship with her parents and Scarlett had become, Olivia held on to the hope that somehow, one day, there could be repair. She didn't want Layla to grow up completely removed from her extended family. Children deserved grandparents, aunts, a bigger orbit of people to cheer for them at school concerts or birthday parties. But that hope had been tested more times than Olivia could count. Each holiday brought strained dinners and unspoken comparisons. Scarlett would arrive late but still be greeted with enthusiasm. Olivia's practical dress would be met with a polite smile. Scarlett's designer heels would earn gasps of admiration. Conversations drifted toward Nathan's latest real estate conquest or Scarlett's marketing campaigns for national brands. When Olivia tried to share something about her classroom, how one of her struggling readers had finally learned to sound out words, she was met with nods so brief they might as well have been dismissals. Layla, wise beyond her years, had started to notice too. "Why does Grandma only ask Scarlett if she wants more pie?" she asked once after Thanksgiving. Olivia didn't have a good answer, just a careful hug and a deflection. Some people just forget to look around. So when the ivory-embossed invitation to Scarlett and Nathan's engagement party arrived in the mail, it sat unopened on Olivia's kitchen counter for 3 days. She recognized her mother's handwriting on the envelope immediately. Delicate cursive, overly formal, like everything in their family. When she finally opened it, the invitation nearly glittered. "You are cordially invited to celebrate the engagement of Scarlett Brooks and Nathan Carter at Crystal Lake Country Club." The words felt heavy in her hands. There was a handwritten note underneath. Olivia, we would love to have you and Layla join us. This is a very exclusive event. Please ensure Layla is on her best behavior. Love, Mom. It stung more than it should have, the implication hidden behind pleasantries. Be on your best behavior. Don't embarrass us. Don't be. That night, Olivia sat on the edge of Layla's bed, watching her daughter sleep. Her long lashes fluttered slightly with each breath, and her hand curled around a stuffed dolphin named Luna. Olivia brushed a strand of hair from Layla's forehead, heart aching. She whispered into the quiet, I don't know if this is a good idea, baby. I don't know if I can protect you from them. But the next morning, Layla's excitement made the decision for her. She found the invitation on the kitchen table, wide-eyed. Aunt Scarlett is having a fancy party? She asked, practically bouncing in her seat. Do I get to wear a dress? Olivia smiled, even as part of her clenched. Yes, honey. We'll find you a beautiful dress. And we'll go. Together. She wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, this would be the beginning of something new. That Scarlett, radiant and in love, might finally extend a real olive branch. That her parents, softened by age or pride in their grandchildren, might see her and Layla differently. Not as reminders of failure, but as family. So they spent the next few weeks preparing. Olivia scrimped and saved to buy a navy cocktail dress from a clearance rack, elegant, understated. Layla chose a pale lavender dress with tiny embroidered daisies, which she twirled in front of the mirror every night before bed. They practiced fancy manners and watched YouTube videos about country club etiquette. Layla made a handmade card with glitter and love for her aunt and tucked it inside a modest gift bag with lavender tissue paper. And Olivia tried to quiet the voice inside her that warned of old wounds reopening. Because deep down, despite everything, she still hoped that this time might be different. That this time, love might be enough. The grand chandeliers sparkled like constellations above the ballroom, casting a golden hue over the white tablecloths, crystal glassware, and flower arrangements that looked more suited for a royal wedding than an engagement party in a small town. Crystal Lake Country Club spared no expense, and neither had Scarlett. Olivia Brooks stood near the far end of the room, trying not to feel as invisible as she felt. Her daughter, Layla, clung lightly to her hand, wide-eyed and trying to hide her excitement beneath practiced poise. They had arrived just 15 minutes late, a minor offense, Olivia thought. But from the second they stepped inside, she felt the chill. Her mother's hug was perfunctory, her father's handshake stiff. Scarlett barely acknowledged her before flitting off into the crowd, radiant in her designer gown that shimmered like champagne under the lights. Olivia's navy blue dress, purchased on clearance and worn with quiet dignity, felt suddenly too plain, too practical. The guests, polished, confident, and mostly strangers, sipped expensive champagne and laughed into each other's perfectly whitened teeth. Waitstaff in tuxedos floated between tables offering hors d'oeuvres that Olivia couldn't even pronounce. She helped Layla navigate the crowd, guiding her toward a small table with fruit, crackers, and juice. "You doing okay, sweetheart?" she asked quietly, crouching to Layla's level. Layla nodded, her eyes scanning the room. "It's really fancy," she whispered. "I feel like I'm in a movie." Olivia smiled, brushing a curl behind her daughter's ear. "Just be yourself, okay? You don't have to impress anyone." They spent the next half hour keeping mostly to themselves. Olivia chatted briefly with Catherine, a kind woman introduced as Nathan's aunt, who complimented Layla's manners and offered a gentle smile that felt like a small lifeline. But otherwise, they were overlooked. The rest of Olivia's family avoided her gaze, drawn instead to the swirl of Scarlett and Nathan's curated love story. The formal toast came soon after. Nathan's father, a barrel-chested man with a voice like a news anchor, stood and praised his son's accomplishments, followed by a glowing endorsement of Scarlett's poise, ambition, and impeccable taste. Olivia stood beside Layla at the edge of the room, listening silently. Her sister had been transformed into an idealized version of herself, and it was clear, there was no space in this narrative for a schoolteacher with a single daughter and a rusted-out Honda in the parking lot. When the applause died down, Scarlett took the microphone. "Thank you all for being here tonight. she said, smiling the kind of smile that never reached her eyes. Nathan and I feel so blessed to share this evening with our closest friends, colleagues, and of course, family. Her gaze swept over the crowd, never landing on Olivia or Layla. She thanked Nathan's parents for raising a man of such integrity, then her own for always believing in her. Olivia waited, hoped, just a nod in their direction, a gesture of acknowledgement, but it never came. Then Layla tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, can I get some more punch?" she asked in a whisper. "Of course. Just take it slow. 2 hands on the cup, okay?" Layla nodded solemnly and disappeared into the crowd with a careful gait, navigating between long gowns and suits. Olivia watched her daughter's small figure weave through the party, a lavender dress among black tuxedos, doing everything right. And then it happened. A man, a guest with a loud laugh and wilder gestures, stepped backward into Layla's path without looking. His elbow clipped her shoulder. The punch, full to the rim in a crystal glass far too heavy for a 10-year-old, lurched violently in her hands. Layla stumbled, trying to steady herself, but the red liquid arced forward. Time slowed as it sailed through the air and splashed across the front of Scarlett's pristine, ivory gown. Gasps erupted. Glass shattered as Layla dropped her cup in panic. Scarlett froze, staring down at the vibrant stain blooming across her midsection like a blood stain in a battlefield. Layla's eyes welled with tears. She took a trembling step back. "I'm so sorry, Aunt Scarlett," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." The slap was sudden, brutal, and immediate. The sound, skin against skin, rang out across the ballroom like a gunshot. Layla crumpled to the ground, her cheek flaming red, her body curling into itself with a sob that was mostly shock. For a full 5 seconds, no one moved. Not a sound. Then Olivia felt something inside her rupture. She rushed forward, knees hitting the marble floor as she pulled her daughter into her arms. Layla's body trembled. Her small hands reached up to her face, trying to hide the pain. "Oh my God," Olivia whispered. "Baby, are you?" "She ruined my dress," Scarlett screeched. Her voice was unrecognizable, hysterical. "This was custom Vera Wang. Do you know how much it costs?" "She's a child," Olivia said, standing with Layla in her arms, her voice trembling. "It was an accident." "She's always underfoot," Scarlett snarled. "You let her run around like some wild thing." Olivia opened her mouth to respond, but her parents were suddenly beside Scarlett. "What happened to your beautiful dress?" their mother asked, eyes on the ruined gown, not the child sobbing in Olivia's arms. "This is what happens when you bring children to adult events," their father said, voice clipped. "Especially when they haven't been taught proper behavior." Olivia looked between them, all of them, and felt something cold settle in her chest. For years, she'd endured the silent judgments, the backhanded comments, the careful exclusions. But now they had seen a 10-year-old girl slapped to the ground, and their concern, their only concern, was a ruined dress. Layla looked up at her mother with wide, teary eyes. The mark on her face had already begun to darken. And something shifted in Olivia. Some quiet place inside her, where love lived, and forgiveness had been asked of her too many times, turned solid. "No one," she said, voice low and cold, "no one lays a hand on my child." Scarlett scoffed. "Oh, get over yourself. It was a slap." "It was assault," Olivia cut in. "And I'm calling the police." The ripple that passed through the room could have knocked down walls. Voices rose. Phones were pulled out. Catherine's face appeared in the crowd, her expression unreadable. "You're not serious," Scarlett said, her fury warping into disbelief. But Olivia had already pulled out her phone. She dialed 911 with one hand, the other still holding Layla close. "My daughter was struck by an adult," she said into the receiver. "We're at Crystal Lake Country Club. She has a visible mark. I need officers here immediately." Scarlett's face drained of color. "You've destroyed this family," her father hissed under his breath. But Olivia had never felt calmer. "No," she said softly. "You destroyed it. I'm just finally acknowledging the damage." As she hung up the phone and held her daughter close, Olivia didn't feel like the lesser daughter. She didn't feel invisible. She felt powerful. The ballroom had fallen into a stunned silence, punctuated only by Layla's soft, shaken sobs against Olivia's chest and the muffled clinking of champagne glasses as curious guests strained to listen without seeming to. Scarlett stood frozen in her rage, her fingers still curled from the slap, eyes wide as if stunned by her own outburst. But what shocked the crowd even more than the assault was Olivia's voice, clear, sharp, and ringing with purpose. "I'm calling the police." The sentence cut through the murmurs like a razor. For the first time in years, she saw fear flicker in her family's eyes, not because of her, but because she had stopped playing by their rules. Scarlett's voice broke through the hush, her tone shrill. "You're not serious. Olivia, don't be ridiculous." It was a slap. Olivia's voice was low now, but it crackled with fury. To a 10-year-old. In front of 200 witnesses. Her fingers were already dialing. Her mother stepped forward, aghast. "Rachel?" she faltered, calling her by her middle name, the one used only in reprimand. "Hang up that phone. We can handle this privately. Don't humiliate the family like this." "It's already humiliating," Olivia said, locking eyes with her mother. "Just not for me." The 911 dispatcher's voice came through. "911, what is your emergency?" Olivia spoke without hesitation, the ballroom holding its collective breath. "I need to report an assault on a minor. My daughter was slapped across the face by an adult at a private event. She has a visible handprint and was knocked to the ground." The silence that followed her statement was deafening. From across the room, Catherine Foster, Nathan's aunt, the only person all evening who had shown Layla kindness, stepped forward, her phone already in her hand. "I have video," she said calmly. "I saw it happen." Scarlett's expression collapsed from disbelief into panic. "You're siding with them?" she hissed. "I'm siding with what's right," Catherine replied, her voice cold and steady. "And with a child who just got assaulted while adults did nothing." Nathan, pale and quiet until now, stepped forward. "Scarlett, maybe we should?" "Don't," she snapped. "Don't you dare take her side." James Carter Sr., Nathan's father, moved in then, trying to restore the power balance. "Olivia, we all understand emotions are high, but surely you can see how this could ruin a family's reputation. Perhaps if we took a step back." Olivia turned toward him, clutching Layla a little closer. "You're worried about reputation? Your future daughter-in-law just struck my child. If you're more concerned about photos than people, that says everything." Her father's voice lowered to a threatening whisper. "You're overreacting. Do you realize who's in this room? Who this family knows?" Olivia blinked, realizing suddenly he wasn't trying to de-escalate. He was trying to intimidate her. And then, as if on cue, he delivered the blow they all had lined up. "You work in education. You really want this kind of scandal to follow you?" Her mouth went dry. It wasn't even subtle. He was weaponizing her job, her passion, for control. For silence. "You're threatening my livelihood now?" she asked, her voice rising despite herself. "No," he said with a tight smile. "Just offering perspective." Nathan's mother chimed in, wearing a forced grin. "Perhaps we could help contribute to Layla's college fund, as a gesture of goodwill. Something generous. There's no need for this to get messy." Olivia stared at them, almost unable to believe the casual cruelty in their tone. Layla, still clinging to her, looked up with those tear-brimmed eyes. "You want to bribe me to ignore what happened to my daughter?" she said aloud, for everyone to hear. Scarlett's tone shifted again, now performative, dramatic. "It wasn't even that hard," she cried. "She got punch all over my dress. I lost control for 1 second." But no one looked at the dress anymore. Everyone was looking at the little girl, still trembling, her cheek burning red, her trust shattered. "I was saying sorry," Layla said suddenly, her small voice breaking through the crowd. "But she hit me anyway." There was the voice of the child they all wanted to silence. "Enough," Olivia said quietly, tears starting to form in her own eyes. "You think this is about dresses and donors and press. But it's not. It's about a little girl who learned today that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you hurt you instead." She looked straight at Scarlett. "If anyone in this family ever lays a hand on my daughter again, the consequences won't stop with a ruined party. I will make sure they're felt in every courtroom, every school board meeting, every boardroom you think you control." "That's not a threat. That's a promise." The room was stunned into silence again. But this silence felt different. It was the silence of a power shift. From somewhere near the entrance, 2 police officers stepped into the ballroom, escorted by the venue's head of security. Olivia raised a hand slightly. "Over here." Scarlett made one last, desperate appeal. "You don't have to do this. You can just walk away." But Olivia didn't move. For the first time in years, she stood completely still and felt her own weight. "This ends today," she said. The questioning took over an hour. The officers separated groups, took statements, and eventually issued a citation to Scarlett for simple assault on a minor. It wouldn't lead to jail, not immediately, but it would go on record. There would be court dates, legal filings, and a family stain that no amount of designer fabric could hide. As guests began to quietly trickle out, Olivia held Layla's hand tightly. Her heart was breaking, but not from shame. From exhaustion. From years of trying to earn love that had always been conditional. Scarlett stood to the side, red-faced and furious, flanked by her equally stunned parents. "You'll regret this," her father muttered, shaking his head. But Olivia shook hers. "Calm now." "No," she replied. "I've been regretting not standing up for myself for 35 years. Today's not one of those days." Catherine approached as they were preparing to leave. She knelt beside Layla, her eyes kind. "You were so brave today, sweetheart. I'm proud of you." Layla didn't smile, but she nodded. Catherine turned to Olivia and handed her a business card. "If you need legal help or just someone to talk to, please call. I've been in your shoes more than once." Olivia took it, gripping it like a lifeline. "Thank you. Really." As they stepped outside into the cool night air, the flash of red and blue lights fading behind them, Layla finally spoke again. "Mom," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "are we going to be in trouble?" Olivia knelt down and looked her daughter in the eye. "No, baby. They are." 3 days after the engagement party, Olivia Brooks sat cross-legged on the living room floor, still wearing yesterday's sweatpants, her laptop screen casting a pale glow across her tired face. The clip had gone viral. It started on a local Facebook group, a grainy video of Scarlett slapping Layla at the Crystal Lake Country Club, followed by Olivia's calm but fierce 911 call. Then it spread to Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, and beyond. The hashtags were everywhere. Hashtag protect our children. Hashtag mother of the year. Hashtag slap at the club. There was no escaping it. Her phone buzzed every few minutes. Texts from unknown numbers, voicemails from reporters, social media notifications that ranged from furious condemnation of Scarlett to heartfelt support for Olivia. It was overwhelming, surreal. But the moment that truly changed everything came on the 4th night, when Olivia opened an email from the school district's superintendent. "Olivia, please know that the Willow Creek Unified School District fully supports your decision to protect your daughter and report abuse. We are proud to have educators like you in our schools. If you require legal assistance, counseling, or any accommodations, please let us know immediately." Olivia let the tears fall. Not the tears of exhaustion or fear or shame. She had cried those for years. These were different. These were the tears of a woman who had braced herself for a tidal wave of judgment, only to be met by something she never expected: validation. By the end of the week, the fallout had become national news. A blurred still from the video was broadcast on morning shows. Commentators debated the line between discipline and abuse. Parenting bloggers wrote essays titled, "Why Olivia Brooks is All of Us." Even celebrities weighed in. Scarlett, once the golden daughter, was now the face of privilege unchecked. Nathan Carter called off the engagement, releasing a carefully worded statement to local press. "I cannot, in good conscience, proceed with a marriage under the shadow of recent events. I ask for privacy as I reevaluate my understanding of partnership, family, and accountability." Scarlett's high-profile marketing job, known for its family-forward image, placed her on immediate administrative leave pending internal investigation. Her mother's voicemail came that evening, brittle and sharp. "I hope you're satisfied. You've destroyed your sister's life. The internet doesn't forget, Olivia. And neither do we." Olivia didn't respond. She simply deleted the message and turned to her daughter, who was kneeling on the carpet, coloring a superhero with curly hair and a cape that read truth across the chest. "Is that supposed to be you?" Olivia asked, voice light. Layla smiled without looking up. "It's both of us." The following Monday, Olivia returned to her classroom. She walked past the front office expecting whispers, but instead was met by Mrs. Langford, the school secretary, who pulled her into a quiet hug. "We've got your back," she said simply. "Always." The kids in her class behaved like nothing had happened. There was math to learn, and a science project involving celery and food coloring that had them more riveted than any viral video. But a few parents lingered at pickup. "Hey," one of them, a man named Carl, said as he buckled his daughter into the car. "Just wanted you to know, you did what every parent hopes they'd have the guts to do." Another parent brought Olivia coffee the next morning with a note that read, "Thank you for showing our kids what it means to be strong and kind at the same time." That quiet support, those small affirmations, became the stepping stones of her healing. At home, therapy sessions began, both for Olivia and Layla. Their therapist, Dr. Karen Bennett, was a soft-spoken woman with silver-streaked hair and a soothing presence. She spoke to Layla through puppets and paints, and to Olivia through long silences she somehow filled with meaning. "Children who feel protected," she told Olivia one day, "recover faster than adults expect. The question isn't whether Layla will be okay. It's whether you believe that you deserve to be okay too." That one landed hard. For 35 years, Olivia had navigated her life through the lens of guilt, duty, and diminishing self-worth. She had accepted her role in the family as the supporting character, the safe one, the shadow to Scarlett's spotlight. But now, after the party, the video, the threats, she was beginning to see clearly. She hadn't broken the family. She had refused to let them break her daughter. One night, Olivia found Layla standing by the window, arms crossed, staring out into the dark. "Mom." "Yes, baby." "Why did Aunt Scarlett hit me?" "I said I was sorry." Olivia took a long breath and sat beside her. Because sometimes people think power makes them right. And when they feel embarrassed, they lash out instead of listening. "Was it my fault?" "No," Olivia said firmly, turning to her. "It wasn't your fault. You were polite and kind, and you said sorry. And even if the whole glass had spilled on her, you still wouldn't have deserved to be hurt." Layla looked away, then whispered, "Grandma said I overreacted." Olivia closed her eyes. She wasn't ready to explain generational denial or the lengths people go to defend their illusions. Not yet. "Grandma was wrong," she said gently. "Sometimes people we love don't know how to love us back in a healthy way. That's not on you." Layla leaned into her mother's side, resting her head on her shoulder. "I'm glad you're my mom," she whispered. And in that quiet moment, something inside Olivia softened. Not crumbled, no, not this time. Softened like soil after a long winter, ready to let new things grow. Weeks passed. Olivia began journaling again. She joined a support group for single mothers. Catherine reached out regularly, offering not just legal support but something far more precious, solidarity without strings. Olivia's principal offered her the chance to lead a new pilot program focused on student emotional resilience. It wasn't a promotion in title, but it felt like one in spirit. She accepted. And perhaps most surprisingly, Emily from Human Resources, someone Olivia barely knew, sent her an anonymous donation with a note. "For Layla's college fund. We see you. We believe you." The woman who had once tried so hard to shrink herself to keep the peace was finally learning to take up space. She began to wear earrings again. She redecorated the apartment. Not much, just brighter curtains and new picture frames. But they mattered. They were declarations. This is our space. This is our story now. One afternoon, while cleaning out old boxes, she found a picture of her and Scarlett as teenagers. They were on the beach, Scarlet radiant, Olivia squinting into the sun. She almost threw it away. But instead, she tucked it into a folder marked Past and slid it to the back of the closet. The transformation wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with fireworks or epiphanies. But it came quietly, steadily, like strength being rebuilt one honest moment at a time. On the night of the full moon, Olivia and Layla stood on their tiny apartment balcony wrapped in fleece blankets. Layla pointed up. "You think Aunt Scarlet sees the moon from her house too?" Olivia paused. "Maybe," she said softly. "And maybe she looks at it and thinks about how things could have been different." Layla thought for a moment. "Do you miss them?" "Yes," Olivia said honestly. "But I don't miss how they made me feel." And that was the change. She still carried sorrow. But she no longer confused it with guilt. She could grieve the loss without surrendering her worth. She was still healing. But this time, she wasn't doing it in the dark. The morning Olivia Brooks received the official letter from the Willow Creek Unified School District, she was sitting at her kitchen table, sipping lukewarm coffee from a chipped mug that read, "Teach. Inspire." The email subject line read, "Leadership opportunity, grade level chair position." She stared at it for a long time. Her first instinct was to doubt it. Surely this was some error, or worse, an automatic system-generated offer sent by mistake. But when she clicked the message, she found a carefully worded nomination letter from the principal herself. "Olivia, your strength, integrity, and unwavering dedication to our students have not gone unnoticed. In light of recent events and your continued excellence in the classroom, we believe you are the right person to lead our grade-level team next year. We hope you'll consider stepping into this new role." Olivia blinked back the sting behind her eyes. She reread the email 3 times before calling Layla into the kitchen. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "come read this with me." Layla patted in, her curls still messy from sleep, holding Luna the dolphin plush in one hand. She read the email slowly, mouthing some of the bigger words, before looking up at her mom. "Are you going to say yes?" "I think so," Olivia whispered. "Yeah, I think I will." Layla grinned and wrapped her arms around her mother's waist. "You're really good at helping people, Mom. You'd be a great boss." Olivia laughed. "It's not about being the boss, it's about helping other teachers. Making things better for the students." Layla tilted her head. "That's kinda what superheroes do." 2 weeks later, Olivia stood at the front of the teacher's lounge, leading her first official grade-level meeting. She had notes, sure, but more than that, she had presence, something she'd never quite believed she deserved until now. Her colleagues listened, nodded, offered ideas. There was no power play, no condescension, just collaboration. It felt good. At lunch, Mrs. Chong, a third-grade teacher, patted her on the shoulder. "I'm glad it's you," she said. "You've got quiet strength. We need more of that." Olivia smiled and tucked the words into her heart for safekeeping. At home, Layla was blossoming in her own quiet way. She had become more outspoken in class, her teacher reported. More confident. During show and tell, she brought in a photo of her and Olivia at the beach, held it up, and said, "This is my mom. She's the strongest person I know." Then came the essay assignment. Write about someone who inspires you. Layla titled hers, "My Mom, My Hero." When Miss Garcia, her teacher, read it aloud during parent-teacher night, Olivia had to grip the side of Layla's desk to keep from crying. "My mom is my hero because she always stands up for what's right. Even when it's scary. Even when people don't believe her. She never lets anyone make me feel small. She taught me that being kind is strong, and that protecting someone you love is the bravest thing a person can do. My mom doesn't wear a cape. She wears teacher clothes. But to me, she's better than any superhero." The room was quiet when Miss Garcia finished reading. A few parents clapped. One mom dabbed her eyes. Olivia crouched down and whispered, "That was beautiful, Layla." Layla grinned. "It's all true." There were other unexpected gifts, too. Letters and emails trickled in, extended family members Olivia hadn't spoken to in years, some of whom had also lived in Scarlett's shadow, quietly applauding Olivia's courage to confront what they never could. Her cousin Elise, now living in Seattle, sent a handwritten note. I watched the video and I cried. Not because it was shocking, because it wasn't. It was familiar. You stood up for Layla the way I wish someone had stood up for me. Thank you for breaking the cycle. From the community, there were kind gestures. A free month of counseling from a local clinic, a donated family membership to the community center, and a cashier at the grocery store slipping a $20 gift card into Olivia's bag with a wink and a whispered, "This one's on us." It wasn't the kind of support that made headlines, but it was the kind that made Olivia feel seen. Catherine Foster, Nathan's aunt, became more than just the woman who had filmed the slap. She became a mentor, a confidant, and, slowly, a friend. They met for lunch twice a month, usually at a quiet cafe tucked behind the library, where Catherine always ordered tea and scones and somehow knew just when Olivia needed advice and when she needed silence. One afternoon, Catherine slid a check across the table. Olivia hesitated. "I can't take this," she whispered. "It's not charity," Catherine said. "It's a seed. For Layla's college fund. Or whatever future she dreams up. It's my way of investing in the kind of world I want to live in. And in the kind of woman I hope she becomes." Tears welled up. Olivia took the check. She'd never forget the number on it, $5000, but more than that, she'd never forget the look in Catherine's eyes. Respect. Not pity. Not sympathy. Respect. One Sunday morning, Olivia and Layla walked to the park with peanut butter sandwiches, juice boxes, and an old blanket that had served them well through many picnics. The sky was clear, the breeze gentle. Spring was slowly warming the edges of winter. As they sat on the grass watching ducks glide across the pond, Layla said, "Do you think Aunt Scarlett is still mad?" Olivia looked down at the half-eaten sandwich in her hand. "I think she's hurting," she said carefully. "But sometimes when people hurt, they try to hurt others. And that's not okay." "Do you think she's sorry?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "But I do know that being sorry isn't just about saying the words. It's about changing what you do next." Layla thought for a long moment. Then she leaned her head against her mother's arm. "I'm glad you're my mom." "I'm glad you're my daughter," Olivia whispered, pressing a kiss into her hair. The breeze picked up, rustling the trees above them. It was a quiet moment, ordinary by most standards. But for Olivia, it was sacred. Not because of grand gestures or headlines, but because she was finally, slowly, starting to believe something that had once felt impossible. She was enough. Not in comparison to anyone. Not because she was perfect, but because she had chosen love over fear, courage over comfort. And because every day she woke up and did the hardest, most heroic thing of all, she showed up. For her daughter. For herself. And now, finally, the world was starting to show up for her too. The envelope was plain, cream-colored, no return address, the handwriting unmistakable. Olivia Brooks stood on her porch, sunlight warming the worn wooden planks beneath her bare feet, the letter held between fingers that suddenly felt colder than the air around them. It was from Scarlett. She hadn't seen her sister in nearly 6 months, not since that night at Crystal Lake Country Club, not since the slap, the silence, the police lights. With trembling hands, Olivia opened the envelope, unfolded the paper, and sat down on the porch step. A gentle breeze passed through the trees as she began to read. "Olivia, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. And I don't blame you. For the past few months, I've been attending anger management as part of the plea agreement. At first, it was just a checkbox, something to get through so I could move on with my life. But it didn't take long to realize I couldn't move on, not without looking at what I had done, really looking. There's no justification for what I did to Layla. None. That moment, my reaction, my words, my hand, it wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice. A terrible one. And I see now that it didn't come from nowhere. It came from a lifetime of trying to be perfect, of controlling everything and everyone to keep my image intact. I can't ask you to forgive me. That's not my right. But I am asking you to know that I take full responsibility. I am working every day to understand the damage I've caused, not just to Layla, but to you. To the relationship we never really had, because I was too busy being better instead of being close. I hope Layla is healing. I hope you are too. Scarlett. When Olivia looked up from the page, tears had blurred the corners. But she wasn't crying out of sorrow. Not quite. There was something else, a quiet exhale, a weight she didn't realize she'd still been carrying. The letter wasn't an apology laced with excuses. It wasn't a bargaining chip or a demand for reconciliation. It was, for the first time in Scarlett's life, accountability without asterisks. And it felt like a beginning. Not of repair, necessarily, but of release. In the months since that fateful party, Olivia had changed. Not dramatically. Not in ways visible to most. But something had shifted inside her, like a bone realigning after years of being set wrong. She started saying no. No to over-explaining herself. No to guilt trips cloaked as concern. No to toxic traditions disguised as family obligations. When her parents called, she didn't pick up right away. Sometimes she didn't return the call at all. And when she did, she didn't shrink. She didn't apologize for being too sensitive or too dramatic. She spoke plainly, kindly, firmly. Her therapist, Dr. Bennett, had called it reclaiming space. You spent decades shaping yourself around other people's comfort, she said during one session. It's okay to take up room now. To be clear, boundaries aren't walls. They're doors that only open for people who knock with respect. And Olivia had finally learned to build those doors. She bought a new couch. It may sound small, but for Olivia, it felt monumental. The old one, fraying, secondhand, stained with juice boxes and tears, had served its purpose, cradled too many nights of exhaustion. But it had always belonged to survival. The new couch, a deep forest green with buttery soft cushions, represented something else, choice. When it arrived, Layla jumped on it like it was a trampoline. It smells like the store, she squealed. Olivia laughed. It smells like a fresh start. That evening, they curled up on it together under a new blanket, a birthday gift from Catherine, with 2 mugs of peppermint tea and the quiet comfort of a home becoming more than a shelter. It was becoming a sanctuary. At school, Olivia flourished. The grade-level chair role allowed her to mentor younger teachers, advocate for resources, and lead professional development that prioritized student well-being. She launched a trauma-informed initiative with support from her principal, creating safe spaces in every classroom, reading corners, quiet zones, soft lighting. One teacher called her a lighthouse. She smiled at the compliment, but in private, she reminded herself she wasn't there to be worshipped. Just witnessed. Just whole. And Layla, sweet, resilient Layla, was blooming. She now raised her hand without hesitation. She corrected classmates when they spoke unkindly. She even joined the student council and gave a speech that started with, "Sometimes being small means people overlook you. But sometimes being small means you can see things others can't." Olivia listened from the back of the auditorium with tears in her eyes and her heart in her throat. Scarlett's letter didn't change everything overnight, but it was the first signal that maybe some growth had taken root. Olivia didn't write back. Not right away. Instead, she sat with it, breathed it in, talked it through with Dr. Bennett, with Catherine, with herself. When she did reply, it was short. "Scarlett, thank you for your letter. I appreciate you taking the time to reflect. Layla is doing well. I'm too. We're focused on healing and maintaining peace. That includes keeping healthy boundaries. I wish you continued growth and clarity. Olivia. No invitation. No false promise of back to normal. Just a clear, quiet line in the sand. A line that said, I will not hate you, but I will not let you hurt us again. Spring melted into summer, and the world kept turning. One night, after brushing her teeth and slipping on mismatched pajamas, Layla crawled into bed and whispered, "Mom." "Yeah, love? Do you think people can really change?" Olivia paused, considering. Then she pulled the covers up over her daughter's shoulders. "I think people can grow. If they want it. If they're willing to look at who they were and who they hurt. And if they keep trying even when it's hard." Layla nodded slowly. "Like Aunt Scarlett?" "Maybe," Olivia said gently. "But it's not our job to wait and see. It's our job to protect our peace. To choose what kind of people we want to be." Layla yawned. "I want to be brave. Like you." Olivia smiled. "You already are." She turned off the light, kissed Layla's forehead, and stepped into the hallway, feeling something unfamiliar and sweet. Not triumph, not relief, but peace. Real peace. Not the kind you earn by staying silent, but the kind you choose by telling the truth. She no longer needed to prove herself. She no longer carried shame like second skin. She had come home, to herself. And as the stars blinked quietly through the window, Olivia stood still for a moment, one hand over her heart, the other over the place where the wounds used to be. She was still healing. She always would be. But now, finally, she was free. The first Saturday of March was crisp but bright, with enough sunlight to nudge winter toward its reluctant exit. The air carried a touch of spring, fresh, a little wild, and full of promise. In the modest kitchen of their apartment, Olivia Brooks flipped pancakes shaped like stars while her daughter, Layla, carefully folded handwritten name cards. They had invited 3 people, just 3. Not many, but enough to mark the moment. Today was their new tradition. Their holiday. Day of Courage, Layla had named it. Not to remember the slap. Not to rehash the viral storm or court hearings. But to honor the moment everything changed. When they stood up for themselves, not knowing what would happen, only knowing they had to. It's not about what they did, Layla had told Olivia while coloring the invitation cards weeks ago. It's about what we did. That's what we're celebrating. And she was right. At 11 a.m., their guests arrived. Catherine Foster, first as always, carrying a bouquet of daffodils and a box of lemon bars. She embraced Olivia warmly and bent down to squeeze Layla's hand with a smile. "I wouldn't miss this for the world," she said. Next came Dr. Bennett, their therapist, who brought a tiny potted succulent and a framed quote that read, "Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow." Last was Elise, Olivia's cousin from Seattle, who had flown in just for the weekend. She had been one of the first to send support after the incident, confessing that watching Olivia stand up had helped her finally break ties with her own toxic circles. The small apartment hummed with easy conversation, laughter, and clinking mugs. Layla led the group through opening statements, where everyone shared what courage meant to them. Dr. Bennett spoke of vulnerability. Catherine of integrity. Elise of breaking generational patterns. When it was Layla's turn, she stood, shy at first, then steady. "I think courage means doing the right thing even when people you love think it's wrong," she said. "And telling the truth. And protecting people. And forgiving yourself when it's hard." She turned to Olivia with a soft smile. "And sometimes courage is being a mom who doesn't let scary things win." Olivia blinked back tears, heart swelling with a love so fierce and full it almost hurt. After lunch, they opened a small wooden box they had painted together, labeled Courage Capsule. Inside were memories. Layla's essay titled, "My Mom, My Hero." A printed copy of Olivia's school leadership letter. A photo of them on their new couch, wrapped in blankets, eating popcorn. A screenshot of the supportive comments from strangers online. And, perhaps most tender, a drawing Layla had made of herself and Olivia, standing side by side with capes. It wasn't perfect. The lines were a little crooked. The proportions were off. But it was the truest portrait Olivia had ever seen. That evening, once the guests had gone, Olivia sat alone on the couch as Layla napped beside her. She pulled out her laptop to check emails and noticed one she hadn't expected. From James Carter. Subject, "Thank you." She hesitated, then opened it. "Olivia, I've thought about writing to you for months, but I wasn't sure how or whether I should. I figured you deserved to hear it from me directly. You changed my life. Not in the way people usually mean, but because of what you did, standing firm, protecting Layla, refusing to be silenced. I saw everything differently. Not just Scarlett, but myself. The way I tolerated things I shouldn't have. The way I confused charm for kindness, appearances for character. I started therapy in April. I stepped away from my parents' business and moved to Oregon. I'm teaching high school business now. Turns out I actually enjoy it. Asterisk, I don't expect a reply. I just wanted to say thank you. For doing the brave thing. For showing me the cost of staying silent. I hope you and Layla are well. James asterisk. Olivia read the message twice, then a third time, and when she finally closed the tab, she felt a strange, gentle warmth, a chapter softly closing without bitterness. Just acceptance. Her family, too, had begun their own slow journey toward change. After months of strained distance, her parents had agreed to attend family therapy, not to fix things, but to understand them. Layla's involvement remained conditional. Olivia held that line firmly. Visits were brief, supervised, and rooted in respect. Her mother, once cold and defensive, had started asking questions instead of offering unsolicited advice. Her father, though more guarded, had apologized for his part in minimizing the harm. They were not the same people. Not yet. Maybe never entirely. But Olivia no longer craved their approval. She only cared for Layla's safety and her own peace. And Scarlett, perhaps the most surprising transformation of all, had continued with her mandated therapy. She had also started volunteering at a local center for children who had experienced trauma. It was Olivia's choice to keep the restraining order in place until it expired. They didn't talk much. A text now and then. A photo of a dog at the shelter Scarlett helped walk. A message on Layla's birthday. No expectations. Just love from afar. There was no reunion. No forced forgiveness. But there was movement. Growth. And Olivia no longer needed Scarlett to become a different person in order to be okay. That, perhaps, was the biggest shift of all. Later that night, Layla stirred beside her. "Did you have a good day of courage?" Olivia whispered, brushing her daughter's hair back. Layla nodded sleepily. "Best one yet." "We should make it a real holiday," Olivia smiled. "Bake something special every year. Maybe even start giving each other little bravery presents." Layla's eyes fluttered open. "Next year, I want to make you a necklace with a lion charm." "Why a lion?" "Because lions are brave, but also kind. Like you." Olivia held her close, heart humming. "I think you're the bravest lion I know," she said. Outside, the stars blinked against the dark, and Olivia thought about legacy. Not the kind built on last names or lavish parties, but the kind built slowly, deliberately, one brave moment at a time. She thought about the quiet women who had gone before her, silenced, small, surviving. She thought about how far she'd come, not just through a storm, but into herself. And she realized that courage wasn't loud or easy. It was soft and steady. It was a voice at a dinner table saying, "No more." A call made with shaking hands. A child who believes her story matters. A life rebuilt without apology. She and Layla had turned pain into purpose. They had made space for joy. They had written their own ending. And as Olivia watched her daughter fall back to sleep beneath a blanket of lion-hearted dreams, she whispered a promise, not to Scarlett or her parents or even James, but to herself. "We will keep choosing courage. Even when it's quiet. Even when no one's watching. Especially then." It was a late Sunday afternoon when Olivia Brooks found herself back at the same park she had visited as a teenager, back when life was simpler and heartbreak hadn't yet shaped her backbone. Layla ran ahead, a blur of lavender and laughter, chasing her kite across the spring-stirred grass. The sky above was soft and blue, the kind of sky that didn't shout, but whispered, "Breathe." Olivia sat on a weather-worn bench beneath the old oak tree that had once been her thinking spot, a place she used to come with journal in hand and dreams in her head. Now she sat, hands resting in her lap, watching the small miracle she'd raised dance with the wind. So much had changed. So much had stayed the same. She could still hear her mother's voice sometimes, tight with disappointment, laced with control. She could still recall the moment of impact, Scarlett's slap slicing through air and bloodline alike, the gasp, the silence, the red bloom on Layla's cheek. But today, there was no ache in remembering. Just understanding. That was the difference healing made. There are moments in life that don't ask for permission. They just arrive, raw and unannounced, and demand everything from you. For Olivia, it had been that night in the ballroom. Not the slap, but the stillness afterward. The pause between heartbreak and response, between shame and strength. She could have left. Quietly. Like always. But she stayed. She stood. And in doing so, She rewrote a story that had been passed down for generations, where silence was survival and obedience was mistaken for love. The lessons didn't come all at once. They came slowly in fragments, like bits of glass glinting in sunlight, sharp, beautiful, sometimes painful to hold. Lesson 1. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who wound you the deepest. This had been the hardest one to learn. For years, Olivia thought that being family meant enduring anything, forgiving everything. She'd allowed her own needs to shrink, her voice to quiet, just to keep the illusion of closeness. But real love doesn't demand invisibility. And when that illusion shattered in front of her daughter, Olivia realized that no last name, no holiday photo, no shared history was worth more than Layla's safety or her own dignity. She grieved the loss of that idea of family. But grieving, she learned, was different from regretting. Lesson 2. Boundaries aren't betrayal. They're the beginning of truth. In the weeks that followed the incident, people from all corners of her life reached out, some with support, others with disbelief, and a few with venom dressed as concern. You really think airing this publicly was the right thing? You've always had a chip on your shoulder about Scarlett. Don't you think you're punishing the whole family for one mistake? She didn't answer those questions, not out loud, because the only question that mattered was the one she asked herself. If Layla had to go through this alone, what would I want her to believe about love? And the answer came back, unwavering, that love protects. That love doesn't ask you to stay quiet to be accepted. That love never leaves a bruise. Lesson 3. Protecting a child is not just your job. It is your highest act of love. That truth had anchored her when everything else tried to pull her under. The threats, the judgment, the legal letters, all of it meant to intimidate, to twist her into thinking she'd gone too far. But every night when she tucked Layla into bed, when her daughter whispered, "Thanks for keeping me safe, Mom," Olivia remembered why she did it. It wasn't just about punishing Scarlett. It was about showing Layla that her body, her boundaries, and her voice mattered. That no one, not even family, had the right to take that away. Lesson 4. Unconditional love is rarely convenient. But it's always worth it. Olivia had lost a lot. Her sister's friendship, the approval of her parents, the comfort of the family system she once tried so hard to keep afloat. But she gained something far greater. She gained clarity, community, confidence. She gained nights with Layla filled with peace instead of tension. She gained mornings where she no longer braced herself for criticism disguised as concern. She learned that unconditional love doesn't mean allowing harm. It means choosing to love even when you're alone. It means standing up when it's hard. It means protecting someone's wholeness more than your own reputation. And in doing so, that love echoes. Through her school. Through her students. Through Layla's growing courage. Through the quiet strength of women who refuse to be silenced. The sun was beginning to dip when Layla returned to the bench, breathless and beaming. "Can we stay just a little longer?" she asked. "Of course," Olivia smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." Layla leaned her head against her mother's shoulder. "Do you think families ever get better?" Olivia wrapped an arm around her, thinking carefully. "Some do. Some don't. But the good ones, the real ones, aren't just the ones we're born into. They're the ones we build. The ones who show up, who protect us, who choose kindness even when it's hard." Layla nodded thoughtfully. "So, we're a good one, right?" Olivia kissed the top of her head. "We're the best kind." As twilight settled over Willow Creek, the kite finally dropped from the sky, drifting down slowly like a flag marking where a battle had been won, not with fists or fear or force, but with truth. Olivia stood, taking her daughter's hand. They walked home together. No fanfare, no crowd. Just the quiet rhythm of feet on pavement, of love built moment by moment, step by step. And Olivia knew, with the certainty of someone who had lived through the storm and chosen to dance anyway. This is what victory looks like. Not everyone cheering for you. Not everything going back to how it was. But living your truth. Loving without fear. Protecting without apology. Real life application, 150 words. Olivia and Layla's story is fictional, but their lessons are universal. If you've experienced family hurt, remember this. You're not disloyal for setting boundaries. You're not unkind for speaking up. Love should never ask you to abandon yourself. Protecting your child, or your inner child, isn't just your right. It's your legacy. Whether you're a single parent, a teacher, a friend, or someone learning to heal, you deserve a life that reflects your values, not your trauma. And if you're standing alone right now, know this. You are not the only one. Every act of courage, every quiet refusal to accept harm, sends out ripples. And those ripples reach others. They build bridges, communities, hope. Just like Olivia and Layla did. 1 year later, the gymnasium at Willow Creek Elementary was filled wall to wall with parents, teachers, students, and community leaders. Balloons bobbed gently above rows of folding chairs. A banner stretched across the stage. Safe schools, strong hearts, a year without violence. Olivia Brooks sat in the second row, her hands clasped, trying not to cry too early. Her daughter, Layla, now 11, stood at the edge of the stage behind a podium that had been adjusted to her height. A white dress hugged her small frame, and a blue ribbon reading Student Ambassador shimmered against her chest. She had written the speech herself. Olivia had only seen the title, What Safety Really Means, but she'd been told by the principal, by the guidance counselor, by almost every teacher in the school, you need to prepare yourself. Layla stepped forward, took a slow breath, and began. A year ago, I thought adults always knew what was right. I thought they were supposed to protect you, always, even when you made mistakes. Her voice, small but steady, echoed through the room. But then someone older than me hit me. Because of an accident. And suddenly, the world felt upside down. I didn't understand how something so small could turn into something so big. I thought maybe it was my fault. Maybe being small meant being invisible. Or being quiet. But then, my mom stood up. A hush spread like fog across the crowd. She told the truth. Even when it hurt. Even when people said she shouldn't. She showed me that right and wrong aren't about age or power. They're about how we treat people, especially people smaller or more scared than us. Layla's voice wavered just slightly, and Olivia saw her glance out into the crowd, locking eyes with her mother. My mom didn't just protect me that day. She taught me something that I'll never forget. Asterisk, you don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to be perfect to be worth loving. And the people who really love you would never ask you to stay silent to keep peace. Asterisk. Sniffles began to ripple across the room. I'm standing here today because my mom taught me that we are enough. Even when we're scared. Even when we're alone. She paused. Then finished quietly. So I hope this school stays a safe place. Not just with locked doors or hallway rules. But a place where kids know they matter. Where no one's too small to be seen. And no one's too young to be heard. The entire room rose to their feet, applause thunderous, some people already wiping tears before the clapping even began. Teachers hugged each other. Olivia stood, hands over her mouth, tears streaming freely. Layla stepped off the stage and ran into her arms. I didn't mess up, she whispered, burying her face in her mom's shoulder. No, baby, Olivia murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. You did more than okay. You just reminded the whole room what courage looks like. Later that day, while helping stack chairs in the back, Olivia was approached by a woman in a navy blazer, soft curls framing her warm, curious face. Ms. Brooks? She asked. Olivia straightened. Yes. The woman extended her hand. I'm Natalie Vaughn, Regional Director for Voices First. We're a national nonprofit that trains educators and parents on violence prevention and trauma-informed care. Olivia blinked, caught off guard. Oh, I've heard of your work. Natalie smiled. I watched your daughter speak today. I've read about your story. And I think you have something to teach, something people need to hear. She paused, then added softly, if you'd be open to it, we'd love to partner with you. Webinars, parent summits, storytelling sessions. You'd be compensated, of course. But more than that, we think your journey can help others heal. Olivia felt her chest tighten. Not from fear. From awe. All those nights spent second-guessing. All the moments she wondered if she had ruined too much, burned too many bridges, asked too much of the world. And here it was, a door not just opening but welcoming her through. She nodded, trying not to cry again. I'd love that. 2 months later, Olivia and Layla moved into a small but sunny apartment just 10 minutes from the school. It had hardwood floors and a kitchen window that caught the morning light in a way that made even burnt toast feel like a feast. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. They painted the living room wall a warm ochre, strung twinkle lights across the ceiling, and bought a used bookshelf where they displayed their favorite photos. The Day of Courage. Layla's school speech. A Polaroid of Catherine Foster hugging them both outside the courthouse. A sticky note Layla once left on Olivia's pillow. You are my safe place. They also launched something they had whispered about for months. A blog. A place for stories, for healing, for community. They named it, We Are Enough. Each week, Olivia wrote essays about setting boundaries, about navigating trauma without passing it on, about finding strength in places you once felt small. Layla shared her favorite quotes, her drawings, and eventually her thoughts in her own words, about bravery, kindness, and how to speak up even when your voice shakes. They invited other families to submit their stories, and slowly, the blog grew. It wasn't viral. It wasn't polished. But it was honest. And for every post, there was a comment or a message that said, I thought I was the only one. This helped me talk to my daughter about something I didn't know how to explain. Thank you for reminding me that I don't have to be silent anymore. One evening, Olivia sat at the kitchen table editing a blog post while Layla lay nearby, flipping through a graphic novel. Hey, Mom, she asked, not looking up. Yeah. If that thing hadn't happened, with Aunt Scarlett, do you think all this other stuff would have happened? Olivia set down her tea. You mean the speech? The blog? The new apartment? Yeah. Like, would we still have our new life? It was a heavy question, especially from an 11-year-old. Olivia thought for a moment, then replied, maybe not. Maybe we'd still be trying to please people who didn't really see us. Layla nodded. So it was kind of a bad thing that made good things happen. Olivia smiled. Sometimes the hardest moments show us the clearest path. Pain doesn't mean you're broken. Sometimes it means you're finally becoming whole. Layla grinned. That sounds like something we should post. Write it down, Olivia said. I think the world needs to hear it. And so, under a roof that echoed not with fear but with laughter, they built a new kind of legacy. Not one written in perfection. Not one dictated by family roles or guilt. But one forged in truth and compassion, and the bold declaration that we are enough. And we always were.